Okay, this video is going to show how to create a simple macro in Microsoft Excel 2010, be a similar process for Microsoft Excel 2007. So I just have a blank workbook open here, and I'm on the Home tab. I just want to click over to the Developer tab and click on Visual Basic to bring up the Visual Basic editor. Okay, and now that this is open, you can see I have a project window, the properties window, and the code window over here. I'm just going to go ahead and double click on module 1. If module 1 doesn't appear or there's no modules, you can go to insert module and that will cause it to appear here. So I'm going to double click on that so that the code window will be holding the code for module 1. And I'm just going to develop a very simple macro here. In order to get started, you need to use the syntax sub, which stands for subroutine and is kind of a placeholder for code. And then I'm just going to call this macro hello, open and close parentheses, okay, and then I hit the enter button and you can see that it automatically added the end sub, which will be the end of the macro. And just to keep it really simple, I'm just going to do a little message box. Okay, and then you can just type whatever you like in the text here. And close that. Okay, so I have a simple macro called hello, and it's going to open up a message box and display macros are fun, and this is all being stored on the module 1. And just to show that, I'm going to switch over to say sheet 1, double click on that, and you can see it's blank, and then I double click back on module 1 and you can see it's stored right here. So if I wanted to run this macro to test it out, all I need to do is hit this little green button right here for running it. Okay, and it brings up the macro dialog box, and there's one macro in here called hello, and I'm just going to hit run, and then I get this little window, macros are fun, and you can hit OK, and then it brings me back here. So if I wanted to test it out as far as how do you run it in Excel, now that this has been created, I'm just going to close the Visual Basic editor here, and I'm back in Excel. I'm going to go ahead and go into the Home tab, the Insert tab, and say insert, let's say, shape, and I'll just pick this shape here. Okay, and just add a little bit of style to that so it's easier to read. Type the text on there. Don't necessarily need to do that. And so what I'm going to do is activate this little object, which I've made into the shape of a button almost, and typed run my macro. When it's activated, I'm going to get over to where I see the arrows and right click, and then I'm going to say assign macro. And there's only one macro in here, so I'm going to click on hello and go ahead and hit OK. And now that macro has been assigned to this button, so I'm going to click off of that, and now when I run my cursor over there, I don't get an arrow, I get a little hand. And if I click on that, okay, now the macro executes, which is very simple message box, macros are fun. Okay. And then if I wanted to edit the code, I could go back over to the Developer ribbon and click on the Visual Basic button and just go ahead and change this to macros are really fun. Okay, close this back down and go ahead and run that, and you can see it has the updates here. And so those are the basic steps you need to create a simple macro.